Alrighty, what is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. I hope you guys are all doing absolutely fantastic. We're back with the round 6 tips, ANZAC Day round, of course. What a special round this is. And of course, well, there's one game that happens once a year, and that is the ANZAC Day clash that I myself is extremely excited for. So yeah, just before we get into the tips, guys, make sure you go ahead and check out and set a reminder for the live stream that I'm going to be doing on Tuesday for the ANZAC Day clash of Collingwood and Essendon. I'm going to be doing a live stream. Actually, a bit of a different setup this week. I'm going to be doing it in my lounge room, so you'll see a few of my mates there, and potentially even my dad as well. We'll all be doing the watch along together. So it's going to be hectic. It's going to be crazy with Collingwood and Essendon supporters in the room. So yeah, highly recommend you guys go ahead and tune into that. Set a reminder for that, and yeah, subscribe, drop a like if you haven't already, and let's jump straight into the tips. Alrighty, now I haven't actually done this in my previous tipping videos, but for those who are in my tipping comp, which by the way, links are in the description below for both the AFL and the ESPN tipping. But for this week, KK here at the top, I believe that's how you pronounce it, with a score of 7 tips and 44. So yes, that's that. And at the top of the tipping table here is Jason Tydra with a total of 27 and a margin of 156. Alrighty, now going over my round 5 tips here. This was another just absolute terrible round for me. 5 out of 9, and I was in the bottom 82%. I've honestly got no confidence when it comes to tipping, and I think I'm going to change my strategy going into these next rounds, if there even was one to begin with. But I just cannot believe it. Carlton just... well, they pooed the bed. Let's be honest. I mean, how terrible were they on Friday night? And how good were Adelaide on Thursday night? Sorry. I was way off. I thought they were going to get it done comfortably. I wanted to believe in them. I wanted to believe that they weren't going to drop another game that you would have expected them to win. They did this last year as well. So Carlton, they really... I know they've had a 4-1 start to the season, or 3-1 start to the season, but I really don't feel like they're much better than they were last year, if any at all. So yeah, disappointing for the Blues. Next up, the Suns. Well, they had it in the first half, up until the last quarter, really. So super disappointed the Suns let me down there because, well, they were better for probably 3 quarters at that game. Freo, though, they hung in most of that game, and they just come back in the last there. Sydney got it done pretty easily over Richmond in the end. It was close most of the game, though, but in that 4th quarter, they kicked away. The Lions getting it done over North Melbourne pretty easily. Essendon, what an upset, and what a game this is set up for ANZAC Day. Played extremely well against Melbourne, and definitely surprised me. Like, this is one of the biggest upsets I think we've had for quite some time. So well done, Essendon, and a very good win there. And they've elevated themselves into a different category of teams this year for sure. Next up, Western Bulldogs didn't get it done. I thought they would. Yeah, I mean, Port Adelaide, they're proven to be a little bit better than I expected them to be. And then we ended out the round with 3 in a row. Probably the easiest 3 tips. Geelong, everyone tipped Geelong. GWS, I think most people would have tipped GWS, maybe not. And then Collingwood, well, I think this was probably closer to a 60-40 split. But yeah, Pies got it done with a close finish there. And we move on to next week. Alrighty, guys, here. So the first game is on the Friday night here, and this is at Optus Stadium between the Dockers and the Western Bulldogs. Now, I liked what I had seen from the Bulldogs earlier on, and while I do think there's still a chance to win this game, even though they've had a underwhelming couple of weeks, I am going to go with Freo purely because of the home advantage. I've started to notice in these last few rounds that the home advantage seriously seems to be getting it done most of the time. I'll go a close one here by 18 points. And if it wasn't at home, I would not be backing in Freo at all because, to be honest, I don't think they were super impressive against the Suns. They're going to have to be better if they want to win this game against the Doggies. And I give the Doggies every single chance here, and I will not be a little bit surprised if they do lose. But I'll go the Dockers purely because of that home advantage. All right, next up, we got Port Adelaide at Adelaide Oval against the West Coast Eagles here. Now, it has to be said that the Port Adelaide were pretty good the other night. They're winning and getting some clutch goals and moments that were... It was a high-pressured game, and they stayed composed when it mattered the most. Jason Orr-Francis had a pretty good game, and I think some other young guns from Port Adelaide. I didn't actually watch that game, to be honest, so I'm not going to say too much about it. But on the other hand, well, the Eagles, they did get smashed by Geelong, but I believe they won the 3rd quarter, and I think they may have even won the 4th quarter or narrowly lost it. They had actually a pretty solid second half, the West Coast Eagles, and it makes you wonder, are Geelong actually back in form yet? Because, well, they could have gotten a 150-point smacking in this game, but they held on, they fought hard, and they didn't give up. So, respect for West Coast, though, you don't think they're going to win this game, or you can't imagine them winning this game here. personally. So yeah, Port Adelaide for that one. Next up here at Monaco Oval, we got the Giants and the Lions. Sorry. Whilst the Giants did have a solid win, I mean, it was against Hawthorn, who we know are going to be as one of the bottom 2 teams for this year. And Brisbane here, they got it done pretty comfortably against the, who was it? The Roos. So yeah, I'll be tipping the Brisbane Lions for this one. Pretty straightforward. I think they'll get it done there. Next up at GMHBA here, this is one of the hardest ones to tip, I think, in my opinion, for me. And as, yeah, I honestly don't know. I mean, grand final rematch, first of all, and, well, Sydney, they're going to be wanting to get some redemption on this one after that absolutely putrid performance in the grand final and what was an embarrassment. But I'm not fully convinced on Geelong. If we go from what we've seen this year, you'd have to say the Swans have had a better year. Only the one extra win than Geelong, but their draws have both been very, very different. Obviously, Geelong playing their first few teams were pretty solid and respectable in Collingwood and Carlton. They lost to Gold Coast. Obviously, they bet Hawthorn, but what do you take out of that? And, well, they did beat West Coast, but they didn't have an impressive second half here. So I'm going to say, yeah, this is a really hard one. And it's probably really, really stupid of me to actually tip against the Swans here. Against the Cats here. I haven't tipped any upsets at the moment, and that makes me really worried because I always feel like you need to tip at least one upset. So for the very moment, I'm going to go Geelong just on the safer side here, but I might change this because I'm not super convinced on Geelong at the moment. All right, next up, we've got Adelaide and Hawthorn. I'm going to be going Adelaide here. I've loved what I've seen from them. I'm now on board with Adelaide. I do think they have a genuine shot at being a top 8 contender if they can keep it up, and they convinced that, and I guess installed more faith in me after that Carlton performance. So yeah, I don't really give the Hawthorn a chance here. Whilst it is at UTAS, a stadium where Hawthorn do more commonly play. I'm not sure what their form guide is. Adelaide have won the last 3, and I'm going to stick with Adelaide here. I like what they've been doing, and I am going to back them in for this one. All right, next up here, we've got Carlton and St Kilda. Now, I'm going to be honest, I've been thinking about this since, well, I guess the last game we played, and I am going to be going St Kilda. I liked what I've seen from St Kilda against the Pies. They played a good game against us, and they weren't bad by any means necessary. And I'm sick of backing in Carlton and not getting any good tips out of them. I backed him in last week, and they really let me down, guys. I'm going to be honest. I don't want to back them. Whilst I know they can be much better, and I could see them winning this game, I'm going to have to go St Kilda here. It's 50-50, really. It's win-loss in terms of the form guide here. But I think St Kilda might be getting some troops back. And I've got to see something from Carlton before I tip them. I haven't really been impressed in the games they have won. I think at the moment they've had, Geelong at the right time when they haven't been playing the greatest. Richmond's, well, they've been bum average and they're going to be probably bottom 4 this year. So I don't think they've really had any great performances against any great teams. And we've seen that when they did get up against an informed team in Adelaide. They got what they... I guess had coming in some sense against a team that was in much better form and didn't show up there. So I'm going to have to, tip St Kilda on form. Yeah, sorry, Carlton fans. By no means am I hating it if it sounds like I am. I do think Carlton have got a lot more to show for, but I just haven't seen yet, so I can't back what I haven't seen. Next up here, we've got North Melbourne and Gold Coast. I'm going to back North here. I'm sorry, Gold Coast have been such a disappointment. I think... whilst playing at Metricon here, or Heritage Bank Stadium as it is now, does give a pretty big, what would you call it, home ground advantage to Gold Coast. They're a different team now, North Melbourne. And just looking at the form guide now, well, they've been smacked the last few times, North. 47 apiece in their last 2 games as well. But yeah, you know what, stuff it. I'll go with North Melbourne here and say they get it done. That's probably another slot. I mean, actually, it isn't. That'd be a pretty big upset. Going by the odds here. So yeah, we'll see if this one turns out. Probably not. All right, next up here, we've got Melbourne taking on Richmond. Got to go Melbourne. I know Melbourne just got done by Essendon, but Richmond, they're on their way down. I predicted this, and I just cannot see a world here where Richmond beat Melbourne, even with Melbourne not being in the greatest form, or realistically, it might have just been a one-off game. We don't actually know at the moment, but I'll be going Melbourne here. pretty straightforward. Richmond, they've lost too many troops. Things just aren't going right for them at the moment, and I can't see them winning this one. All right, we're on to the last game here, and arguably, well, not even arguably, this is the biggest game of the round, and it's probably going to be the second biggest game of the year, bar the grand final, and this is extremely hard to tip. We have won, how many have we won here? Collingwood have won the last 2 out of the last 3, which I'm actually surprised. I didn't realize that their head-to-head was in the favor of Essendon here. That's actually surprised me. In terms of ANZAC Day, I'm not sure what that is, but this is one of the biggest ANZAC Day games we've had in a while. Both of the teams here in the top 4, first time since 2000. Essendon coming off an absolutely amazing win against Melbourne, and Collingwood coming off a very good win. One in a different way. It was a hard-fought win against a very, very defensive side, and what was a very, very defensive game against St Kilda as well. And I was impressed by the way we got it done. The last few minutes we let slip and, you know, gave St Kilda a chance, but I was pretty impressed from what I've seen from a defensive standpoint on the weekend, and I think Jack Given was a big in for us, and he's definitely going to help out. Now, this game, I think Essendon should be much, much closer to being the favourites here. I cannot believe how much of a favourite Collingwood is here, purely because we have so many outs from our best 22. I mean, Nathan Cox, we don't have a ruck in Darcy Cameron. We don't have, our 2 main rucks. We don't have Jeremy Howe. We're not going to have Taylor Adams. Dan McStay's out. There's a heap of players out here. I would have missed probably another 5. And I think we're top 4 in terms of games experience out this week in terms of injuries. So we are seriously missing some big players. We will be getting to Goey back. Essendon are going to be without Zach Merritt. I'm not sure on their other injuries. Obviously, they don't have 2 meter Peter, but they've got some really good young guns at the moment, like Alan Davey Jr. And a few others. I apologize that I don't remember their names, but I have seen a few Essendon games, and I know they've got some really good players at the moment. Stringer, is he back in form? If he shows up in this game, that's a big factor. And of course, you know, just the other guys that get it done week in, week out, like Mason Redman and stuff like that. So this is a really hard one to tip for me. I know I'm going on and on here. Obviously, I'm going to back in my Pies. But for a neutral tipper, I think Essendon have a really good chance at winning this game here because, I mean, we don't have a ruck. Sam Draper's in huge form at the moment, and he showed his dominance against Brodie Grundy last week against Melbourne, one of the best rucks in the game. So, seriously, they're going to have a massive ruck advantage, you would expect. And if they're winning clearances, they're going to have a serious shot at winning this game. So, if I wasn't a Collingwood supporter, I would be tipping Essendon. Like, I'm just going to be honest there. I don't think I would tip Collingwood if I wasn't a Collingwood supporter. But yeah, got it back in my pie. This is going to be an absolutely magnificent game. And I said earlier in the video, make sure you guys go ahead and check out the live stream that I've got scheduled for Tuesday. Set a notification for that because it's going to be an absolute massive one. All right, guys. Now, last of course here, we've got which team is winning this contest. I mean, you got to go Choc Chip here. But if there's double Choc, you've got to go double Choc. I mean, double Choc is the best cookie from Subway, hands down. So, but we'll go Choc Chip here because it's like the lesser cousin that's just not as good. All right, anyway, moving on, enough of my ramble. Submit the tips here and we are done for this week. Alrighty guys, thank you so much for watching. Again, if you haven't already, make sure you drop a like, subscribe, I'd really appreciate it. I'm gonna have a power rankings video, hopefully out tomorrow. First one for the season. And yeah guys, I'll see you later in the week with the stream. Peace out and bye-bye.